Welcome back. I am so excited for today's explainer, mostly because we're going to absolutely dismantle the whole myth of magical thinking. You know the drill? Those goal-setting frameworks that basically tell you to just wish for good things? Yeah, we're moving past that today. We're diving into a deeply practical, evidence-backed system to actually get things done and turn those dreams into concrete reality.
But hey, before we get to the solution, we kind of have to start with a slightly painful question. Why do our goals always fail? I mean, we all know this struggle, right? We set a goal, maybe it's New Year's Eve or, just a random Monday. We get super pumped. We buy the new workout gear, the fancy fresh notebook, and then what happens? A week or two later, that blazing motivation just fades into absolutely nothing. Life gets in the way, self-doubt creeps in, and we're right back where we started, usually feeling even more defeated.
Okay, let's really dive into this. We need to look at magical thinking versus actionable reality. For years, popular culture has been pushing stuff like the law of attraction. The idea that believing something will happen just by wanting it enough will somehow magically manifest it. Well, the research warns us that this is actually a massive trap. It's a form of magical thinking that makes us, complacent. To actually achieve our goals, we can't just be dreamers. We have to be realists. We've got to ground our aspirations in actionable reality.
And that brings us to our core framework for today, the WOOP Strategy. This is a brilliant, science-backed mental strategy developed by psychologist Gabriela Oettingen and is specifically designed to turn dreams into actionable steps. Honestly, think of WOOP as the scientific antidote to wishful thinking. It bridges that massive gap between your aspirations and your everyday reality by forcing you to look at the whole picture, not just the rosy finish line. To really underscore why this mindset shift is absolutely crucial, listen to this quote from M. Scott Peck. "Emotional sickness is avoiding reality at any cost. Emotional health is facing reality at any cost." Man, that cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? Avoiding reality, like pretending obstacles just don't exist and hoping for the best, is a total recipe for failure. Confronting our actual roadblocks head-on, that's the only healthy, effective way to actually move forward.
So what does this all mean? Well, it brings us to the core framework itself, WOOP. It stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, Plan. It's this incredibly elegant four-step playbook that you can apply to literally any goal, big or small. Over the rest of this explainer, we're going to decode each of these four steps so you can start using this tool like today.
Section 1. Wish and Outcome.
All right, so starting with the first half of the framework, W is for wish. The very first step is to define a meaningful and realistic goal. Now, your wish needs to be specific, and most importantly, it has to truly matter to you. Not a goal society says you should have, but something deeply tied to your own personal values. For example, a super relatable wish might be wanting to exercise more regularly to boost your energy levels. It's clear, it's personal, and hey, it's actually attainable. But here is where we have to be super careful. The first O stands for outcome, and there is a huge difference between fantasizing about the end versus visualizing the process. If you just fantasize that you've already achieved your goal, say imagining yourself already perfectly fit and crossing the finish line of a marathon, your brain actually relaxes. It literally feels like the work is already done and you lose the drive to actually do it. Instead, the strategy says you must visualize the process. You have to imagine the positive results of working toward the goal while fully recognizing that you still have to put in the sweat equity.
Section 2. Obstacles and Plans. Moving into the second half of the acronym, and honestly, this is where the WOOP strategy totally sets itself apart from just basic positive thinking. The second O is for obstacle. Instead of ignoring what might go wrong, WOOP demands that you identify your internal or external roadblocks. You have to confront what might get in your way. So going back to our exercise example, maybe your primary obstacle is feeling absolutely exhausted after a long day at work. Acknowledge that. Don't pretend you're going to magically have boundless energy at 6 p.m. Recognize the obstacle so you can actually defeat it.
Which leads us right to the plan phase. This relies on what behavioral psychologists call implementation intentions. Basically, these are concrete if-then statements used to anticipate challenges and pre-decide exactly how you'll respond. By planning your reaction before the obstacle even hits, you completely remove that uncertainty and hesitation that usually derails you in the heat of the moment. It's a real game changer.
Let's walk through a couple of specific examples from the research so you can see how to build your own if-then engine. For instance, if I feel tired after work, then I will just do 5 minutes of exercise. Notice how low the barrier to entry is there? You aren't committing to a grueling hour-long workout, just 5 minutes to get the ball rolling. Or, how about,
If I procrastinate, then I will set a timer for 15 minutes and just focus. You're anticipating your own failure points and building a bridge right over them.
Section 3. Turning dreams into action.
So, you have the framework, but how do we actually sustain this momentum in our chaotic daily lives? Well, there's an incredibly interesting concept from the source material for this: don't feed the pig. And PIG stands for Personal Instant Gratification. Ultimately, WOOP is a tool to help us delay those quick, easy rewards that come at the direct expense of our long-term goals. Every single time you use your if-then plan to overcome an obstacle, you are actively choosing your meaningful wish over feeding the pig. You're choosing your future self over a fleeting moment of comfort.
To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative homework assignment today. What is your biggest wish and your biggest obstacle right now? Seriously, think about it. I challenge you to stop relying on fleeting motivation because, let's face it, motivation will always abandon you when you're tired or stressed. Instead, try using the WOOP strategy to start acting on reality today. Define the wish, visualize the process, confront the obstacle head-on, and write down your if-then plan. Give it a try, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.